Utter silence hangs in the air, creating a sense of deep, unknown space. After a few moments, a familiar, ominous two-note musical theme begins to play, dun dun, dun dun. It's the sound that has haunted beachgoers for generations, a simple melody that instantly conjures images of terror lurking just beneath the waves. The music slowly builds in tempo and intensity, each note tightening the knot of primal fear in the pit of your stomach. This is the sound of the monster. This is the soundtrack to our collective nightmare about the ocean's perfect killer. It's a sound that promises imminent danger and a violent, unseen threat. The music swells to a crescendo, the iconic theme reaching its peak of intensity, designed to make your heart race and your palms sweat. It's a Pavlovian response, carefully crafted by Hollywood and amplified by decades of sensationalism. For so long, this has been the only story we've been told about sharks. They are mindless eating machines, the villains of the deep just waiting for an unsuspecting swimmer to dangle their feet in the water. This music tells us to be afraid to stay out of their territory and to view them not as animals but as malevolent monsters. It's a powerful, pervasive, and deeply ingrained cultural message that has defined our relationship with one of the planet's oldest predators. But just as the tension becomes almost unbearable, the music cuts off abruptly with the sharp, jarring sound of a needle scratching across a vinyl record. The sudden silence is just as startling as the noise that came before the darkness is replaced by a simple, bold text. Everything you just heard? Wrong. This is not the story we are here to tell. This is the myth we are here to dismantle, note by horrifying note. The fear that was just so palpable was built on a foundation of fiction, a scary story told around a global campfire. It's time to change the tune and listen to a different kind of music. The truth is far more complex, far more fascinating, and honestly far more urgent than the simple, terrifying narrative we have all come to accept. The real story of sharks isn't one of mindless aggression, but of ecological balance, ancient wisdom, and surprising vulnerability. That record scratch isn't just a gimmick, it's a declaration. It's a signal that we are about to erase the fiction and start fresh, drawing a new picture based on science observation and a deeper understanding of the ocean's intricate web of life. We are here to challenge everything you thought you knew about the animal behind the scary music. The stark text fades away, replaced by vibrant life that contradicts the fear we just experienced. The world shifts from darkness to light and energy. Imagine a massive great white shark, not lunging with jaws agape, but gliding peacefully through sun-dappled kelp forest. Its movements are fluid, powerful, yet serene. It is not a monster. It is a master of its environment, an ancient mariner navigating with effortless grace, honed over millions of years. This is the shark as it truly exists, away from horror movies. Now picture a marine biologist, a woman in wetsuit, floating calmly in open ocean. She's not in a cage, just feet away from tiger sharks. Her expression shows awe and respect, not terror. One shark swims closer. She gently places her hand on its flank, guiding it along. No aggression, no panic, only quiet connection between intelligent beings sharing the same space. This relationship is built on understanding, not fear. It's testament that coexistence is not only possible but happening every day. Next, imagine a classroom, young children gathered around a table, crayons in hand, drawing pictures of sharks. But these aren't jagged-toothed nightmares. One child draws a smiling shark with party hat. Another shows a shark family swimming through coral reef. They're learning sharks play as ocean doctors, keeping seas healthy for other fish. Their innocent perspective reveals powerful truth. Fear is not innate. Fear is taught. It's a story we tell ourselves and children, but it can be rewritten. Through rapid succession, the graceful predator, the fearless scientist, the imaginative child. We're resetting the narrative, replacing manufactured dread with genuine wonder, peeling back myth to reveal the living animal at the core. This documentary's purpose isn't just facts and figures, but offering new lens to see these creatures. It's an invitation to step from fear and dive into truth, where shark reality is more compelling than any fiction ever created. So, what is the real story? What happens when we turn down the volume on the scary music and listen instead to the hum of the ocean itself? The truth is that sharks are not the villains of our planet's story. In many ways, they are its unsung heroes. They are a keystone species, the architects of marine ecosystems that produce a significant portion of the oxygen we breathe. Their presence dictates the health of everything from vibrant coral reefs to vast seagrass meadows, creating a delicate balance that has sustained ocean life for over 450 million years. They are, in essence, living fossils whose survival is intrinsically linked to the survival of the oceans themselves. This journey we're about to embark on will take you far beyond the sensational headlines and the Hollywood blockbusters. We'll dive into the science of how these apex predators maintain order, preventing the overpopulation of certain species and ensuring the diversity of life below. We'll explore the surprising and critical connection between healthy shark populations and our planet's ability to fight climate change. It's a story that involves complex food webs, vast carbon sinks, and the remarkable ways in which the ocean's top predator is, in fact, one of its greatest protectors. The intricate dance of life and death they choreograph is vital for the planet's health. We'll also confront the statistics head-on, putting the myth of the man-eating shark into its proper context. You'll learn why you are statistically more likely to be harmed by a falling coconut, a vending machine, or even a cow than by a shark. We'll investigate the rare instances when bites do occur, uncovering the real reasons behind these encounters, which often have more to do with mistaken identity and human behavior than with any inherent malice on the part of the shark. We'll separate the fact from the fiction, providing you with the knowledge to replace irrational fear with a healthy and informed respect for these powerful animals. By the end of this film, our promise to you is this: you will see sharks in a completely new light. You will see them not as monsters to be feared, but as vital contributors to our world that are in desperate need of our help. The truth is not just surprising, it is mind-blowing. It will challenge your perceptions, stir your emotions, and hopefully inspire you to become a voice for the voiceless. The real threat isn't the shark in the water, it's the ignorance on the land. It's time to finally tell their true story. Our fear of sharks is not something that materialized out of thin air. It is a carefully constructed narrative, built brick by brick over more than a century of storytelling, sensationalism, and a fundamental misunderstanding of the natural world. Long before movies could project our nightmares onto a giant screen, the seeds of this phobia were sown through seafaring myths and tall tales. Sailors would speak of leviathans and krakens, monstrous creatures from the abyss, and the shark, with its powerful form and rows of teeth, easily fit into this gallery of oceanic terrors. It became a symbol of the unknown, a physical embodiment of humanity's deep-seated fear of what lies beneath the surface, unseen and unpredictable. This primal fear was then codified and amplified by early literature and news reports. 19th-century adventure novels often depicted sharks as relentlessly aggressive beasts, the ultimate obstacle for any shipwrecked hero. These stories, while fictional, helped to solidify an image in the public consciousness: the shark as a villain. It was portrayed not as an animal acting on instinct, but as a creature with a malevolent intelligence and an insatiable hunger for human flesh. This characterization was compelling, dramatic, and incredibly effective at capturing the imagination, creating a cultural archetype of the man-eater that would prove remarkably difficult to shake, even in the face of scientific evidence. The perception was also shaped by a lack of genuine knowledge. In an era before underwater photography and marine biology, the only time most people ever saw a shark was when it was pulled from the water, thrashing on a deck or lying lifeless on a dock. In this context, it appeared alien and terrifying. Its unique anatomy, the unblinking eyes, the gaping jaws, the rough sandpaper-like skin, was interpreted not as a marvel of evolution, but as a collection of monstrous traits. People could not see the shark in its element, gliding gracefully through the water, so they judged it solely on its most intimidating features, solidifying its reputation as a creature to be feared and eradicated. So, the stage was set. Long before the first film reel ever flickered, the shark had been cast in the role of the monster. It was a character born from a cocktail of ancient myths, dramatic fiction, and a profound ignorance of marine science. This foundation of fear was deep and solid, creating a fertile ground for the panic that was to come. The world was already primed to believe the worst about sharks. It was only a matter of time before a real-life event would come along to ignite the kindling and turn a simmering unease into a full-blown inferno of terror. The narrative was written, and it was just waiting for its opening scene. That opening scene arrived with the sweltering heat of July 1916. Along the coast of New Jersey, a series of terrifying and honestly unprecedented events unfolded that would forever change our relationship with the ocean. Over a period of 12 days, 5 people were attacked by what was believed to be a single rogue shark. 4 of them died. The attacks began in the Atlantic coastal towns of Beach Haven and Spring Lake, but then, inexplicably, the terror moved inland. The shark, or sharks, swam up Matawan Creek, a narrow tidal waterway, attacking 3 more people miles from the open sea. This was something no one had ever imagined possible. The monster had left its traditional domain and was now invading their backyards. The media frenzy that erupted was unlike anything seen before. Newspapers, which were the primary source of information for the public, ran sensational, front-page headlines filled with graphic details and panicked speculation. They dubbed it the Summer of the Shark, painting a picture of a coastline under siege by a bloodthirsty predator. Reporters descended on the small Jersey Shore towns, and a national obsession took hold. The story was no longer just a local tragedy, it had become a national horror story. Bounties were placed on the heads of sharks, and impromptu shark hunts were organized by fishermen and locals armed with rifles and dynamite, determined to kill the monster responsible. This event was a pivotal moment. It took the abstract literary fear of sharks and made it terrifyingly real. For the first time, the American public felt a tangible threat from a creature they had previously only read about in novels. The 1916 attacks provided what seemed to be undeniable proof that sharks were, in fact, man-eaters that could and would hunt humans. The fact that the attacks were an anomaly, a highly unusual cluster of incidents that has never been repeated in the same way since, was lost in the wave of hysteria. The narrative of the rogue killer shark was cemented in the public psyche as fact, not fiction. In the aftermath, science struggled to catch up with the myth. Even ichthyologists at the time were baffled, debating which species could have been responsible and why they would have behaved so aggressively. But the scientific debate was drowned out by the much louder, more compelling story of fear. The 1916 Jersey Shore attacks became the definitive shark story, a cautionary tale passed down through generations. It served as the crucial historical precedent, the real-world horror that would later inspire the most influential piece of anti-shark propaganda ever created. The panic of that summer laid the permanent groundwork for Hollywood to build its greatest monster. If the 1916 attacks were the spark, then the 1975 film was the explosion. Directed by a young Steven Spielberg, the movie took the lingering public fear and weaponized it, creating a cultural phenomenon that transformed sharks from a remote danger into a global symbol of terror. The film was a masterpiece of suspense, using a terrifying musical score, clever camera work that hid the monster, and a compelling story of a town held hostage. It wasn't just a movie, it was a perfectly engineered fear machine that tapped directly into our deepest anxieties about the ocean. It made millions of people afraid to go into the water. The film's monster was a caricature, a highly fictionalized version of a great white shark imbued with vengeful intelligence and a relentless focus on hunting humans. This wasn't an animal, it was a movie villain on par with Dracula or Frankenstein's monster. The shark inactively stalks its victims, holds grudges, and displays strategic cunning that real sharks simply do not possess. But for audiences, this distinction was irrelevant. The image of the massive mechanical shark Bruce, lunging from the depths, became the definitive image of a great white, overriding any scientific reality with a far more thrilling and horrifying fiction. The impact on public perception was immediate and devastating. In the wake of the film's release, shark populations suffered. Fear turned into hatred, and trophy hunting for sharks, particularly great whites, skyrocketed. Fishermen who once saw sharks as just another fish now saw them as monsters to be conquered, a real-life version of the film's heroic trio. The Jaws effect was a measurable phenomenon. Scientists and conservationists reported a sharp increase in public animosity towards sharks and a corresponding decrease in support for their protection. The movie single-handedly demonized an entire species in the eyes of the world. Decades later, the film's influence endures. Even Peter Benchley, the author of the novel upon which the movie was based, expressed deep regret for the hysteria his story created, spending his later years advocating for shark conservation. But the damage was done, created a narrative so powerful that it continues to echo through our culture. It spawned sequels, countless imitations, and an entire genre of killer shark movies, each one reinforcing the same tired, inaccurate trope. Hollywood had created the perfect villain, and in doing so, it had sentenced the real animal to a lifetime of persecution based on a lie. Hollywood may have created the monster, but the news media keeps it alive. The old journalistic adage, if it bleeds, it leads, is perfectly suited to the topic of sharks. A shark bite, no matter how minor or rare, is guaranteed to generate headlines around the world. These stories are often framed with sensational language, using words like attack, savage, and terror to describe what is frequently a case of mistaken identity or a single exploratory bite. The context is almost always missing. The reports rarely mention that millions of people share the water with sharks every single day without incident. The focus is exclusively on the fear. This creates a wildly distorted perception of risk. The annual number of unprovoked shark bites globally is incredibly small, typically in the double digits. Yet, the media coverage dedicated to these few incidents is immense. Compare this to the coverage of far more common dangers. Thousands of people die each year from drowning, but we don't see breathless, minute-by-minute reporting on every single incident. The shark bite story is treated differently because it taps into the primal fear that Jaws and the 1916 attacks solidified. It's a pre-packaged narrative that is easy for news outlets to sell and for audiences to consume. Furthermore, television events like Discovery Channel's Shark Week have, for many years, walked a fine line between education and exploitation. While they have increasingly incorporated conservation messages, the programming has historically relied on dramatic reenactments, ominous music, and a heavy focus on great whites and other dangerous species to boost ratings. Programs with titles like Blood in the Water or Jaws of Death reinforce the idea of sharks as fearsome predators first and foremost. This kind of programming, watched by millions, often does more to perpetuate the myth than to dismantle it, prioritizing entertainment value over scientific accuracy. The result of this relentless media cycle is a public that is chronically misinformed. People's fear of sharks is not proportional to the actual threat they pose. It is a manufactured fear, amplified and sustained by a media ecosystem that profits from sensationalism. Every dramatic headline and every suspenseful TV special adds another layer to the myth, making it harder for the truth to break through. The media machine has learned that fear sells, and sharks have become one of its most reliable and profitable products sold to a public that has been conditioned to be afraid of the wrong monster. This decades-long assault by Hollywood and the media has created more than just a misconception. It has built an entire culture of fear around sharks. This culture manifests in so many ways, from the jokes we tell to the products we buy. Think of the shark-repellent bat spray from the 1960s Batman movie, or the countless t-shirts, toys, and novelty items that depict sharks as goofy but ultimately menacing figures. Even when presented humorously, the underlying message remains the same. Sharks are something to be wary of, a punchline rooted in a shared sense of fear. This casual, pervasive demonization normalizes the idea that sharks are inherently dangerous to humans. This culture of fear directly impacts policy and conservation. When the public sees sharks as a threat, there is little political will to protect them. It becomes much easier for governments to permit culls or install shark nets, measures that are often ineffective at protecting swimmers but are devastating to sharks and other marine life. Public fear creates political pressure to do something about the perceived shark problem, even when the scientific data shows that the real problem is the decline in shark populations. Fear, not science, ends up driving public policy with tragic consequences for the animals. The fear also prevents us from appreciating sharks for what they truly are, miracles of evolution that are essential to the health of our planet. The narrative of the man-eater completely overshadows the far more important story of the ocean saver. It robs us of a sense of wonder and replaces it with anxiety. People who might otherwise be fascinated by the role of sharks in maintaining coral reef health or fighting climate change are instead preoccupied with the statistically infinitesimal risk of an attack. The culture of fear acts as a blinder, preventing us from seeing the bigger, more beautiful, and more urgent picture. Ultimately, this culture is a human construct. Sharks themselves are not scary, our stories about them are. We have projected our own anxieties about the wild and the unknown onto this one animal, turning it into a scapegoat for our fears. Dismantling this culture requires a conscious effort to challenge the narrative at every turn. It means questioning the sensational headlines, seeking out scientific truth, and teaching the next generation a different story, one based on respect, not revulsion. The fear we feel is a reflection of ourselves, not a reflection of the shark. To save them, we must first confront the monster we created in our own minds. To truly understand what sharks do, we have to forget the monster and meet the manager. For millions of years, sharks have served as the architects of marine ecosystems, shaping the very structure of life in the ocean. They are what scientists call a keystone species, meaning their presence has a disproportionately large effect on their environment relative to their abundance. Just as a keystone in an arch holds all the other stones in place, sharks support the integrity of the entire marine food web. When you remove them, the entire structure begins to crumble, leading to a cascade of negative consequences that can unravel an ecosystem from the top down. Their role is not one of wanton destruction, but of careful, critical balance. This architectural role begins with their predatory nature. As apex predators, sharks typically prey on the weak, the old, and the sick members of other species. This isn't a malicious act, it's a vital service that improves the health and resilience of their prey populations. By removing the less fit individuals, sharks ensure that the strongest and healthiest fish survive to reproduce, strengthening the gene pool of those species over time. This process, known as predation-driven natural selection, helps prevent the spread of disease and maintains the overall vitality of fish stocks, which are crucial not only for the ocean, but for the millions of people who depend on them for food. Furthermore, the very presence of sharks changes the behavior of other animals. This is often called the ecology of fear, but it's less about terror and more about smart survival instincts. Prey species like sea turtles or large fish know that sharks are around, so they alter their grazing and foraging patterns to avoid becoming a meal. They might not linger too long in one place or will steer clear of certain high-risk areas. This behavioral modification has profound effects. For instance, by keeping turtles moving, sharks prevent them from overgrazing specific patches of seagrass, allowing these vital underwater meadows to flourish and support a wider array of life. In this sense, sharks are not just hunters. They are landscape gardeners of the sea. They sculpt the environment not only by what they eat, but by how they influence the actions of everything around them. Their influence dictates where fish populations congregate, where seagrass beds thrive, and where coral reefs can recover from damage. They are the silent, steady hand that maintains order and promotes diversity across the vast blue expanse of our planet. To see a shark gliding through the water is to witness an ancient and powerful force of nature at work, meticulously engineering the world that we so often take for granted. Coral reefs are the vibrant, bustling cities of the ocean, teeming with incredible diversity of life. But these delicate ecosystems are under constant threat, and here too, sharks play an indispensable role as their guardians. In a healthy reef system, sharks patrol the edges, maintaining critical balance between predator and prey. They control populations of mid-level predators, such as groupers or snappers. Without sharks, these smaller predators multiply unchecked, leading to devastating ripple effect. They consume overwhelming numbers of smaller herbivorous fish essential for reef survival. These small herbivores, like parrotfish and surgeonfish, have a crucial job. They are the reef's landscapers. They spend days grazing on algae, the seaweed that colonizes and smothers the coral. By keeping algae in check, these fish allow corals to get sunlight they need to survive and grow. When sharks are removed, mid-level predators boom, and populations of vital algae eaters plummet. As a result, algae grow out of control, blanketing the reef in thick, choking mat, blocking out sunlight and killing corals, turning vibrant city into barren, desolate wasteland. Scientific studies worldwide provide clear evidence of this connection. On reefs where sharks were decimated by overfishing, scientists observed dramatic decline in coral health and fish diversity. In contrast, in protected areas where sharks are abundant, reefs are more resilient, healthier, better able to withstand pressures like rising temperatures and ocean acidification. Sharks act as stabilizing force, ensuring no single group dominates the ecosystem. They are enforcers of natural law promoting balance and biodiversity. Therefore, protecting sharks means protecting coral reefs. They're not just incidental scenery, they're integral components of the system's operating manual. A reef without sharks is like a city without law enforcement or maintenance crews. It quickly falls into disarray and decay. By keeping food webs ordered, sharks ensure the delicate dance between coral, algae, and fish continues as it has for millennia. They are silent, powerful sentinels standing guard over precious, fragile habitats on Earth, testament to interconnectedness of all life in the sea. The process we've been describing, where the removal of a top predator causes a chain reaction down through the food web, is what scientists call a trophic cascade. It's a simple yet powerful concept that illustrates the immense importance of animals like sharks. So just imagine a pyramid of life with sharks at the very peak. What happens at the top doesn't stay at the top. It trickles all the way down to the very bottom, affecting even the smallest organisms. The presence or absence of that single predator at the apex can fundamentally change the entire landscape of an ecosystem, dictating which species thrive and which ones disappear completely. Let's look at another powerful example from the coast of the United States. In areas where shark populations declined, researchers noticed a surprising surge in the population of cownose rays. With fewer sharks to prey on them, the rays were free to multiply in huge numbers. These rays, in turn, have a voracious appetite for scallops, clams, and oysters. The booming ray population began to decimate the bay scallop fisheries, which had been commercially viable for over a century. The fishery completely collapsed, not because of direct overfishing of scallops, but because the scallop's natural predator had been allowed to run rampant after its own predator disappeared. This trophic cascade had far-reaching consequences beyond just the economy. The loss of scallops and other shellfish had a significant ecological impact. These bivalves are filter feeders, meaning they clean the water by filtering out algae and other particles. As their populations crashed, the water quality in the bays declined, becoming cloudier and less hospitable for other species, including vital seagrass. The removal of one animal, the shark, triggered a domino effect that harmed a local economy, degraded water quality, and damaged an entire coastal habitat. It's a stark illustration of how interconnected these systems truly are. This principle holds true in oceans all over the world, whether it's sharks controlling sea lion populations, which in turn affects kelp forests, or sharks managing turtle numbers to protect seagrass beds. The story is the same. They are the conductors of a complex oceanic orchestra, and their presence ensures that every section plays its part in harmony. When the conductor is removed, the result is not freedom, but chaos. The trophic cascade is one of the most compelling arguments for shark conservation, proving that their value extends far beyond their own species and is essential for the stability and health of the entire marine world. The importance of sharks extends beyond the immediate health of their ecosystems. It even connects to one of the greatest challenges facing our planet today: climate change. This might sound surprising, but the link is direct and scientifically proven. It comes back to the crucial role sharks play in protecting coastal habitats like seagrass meadows and salt marshes. These ecosystems are what scientists call blue carbon sinks, meaning they are incredibly effective at capturing and storing vast amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, locking it away in the sediment for centuries or even millennia. As we've seen, sharks, through the trophic cascade effect, help ensure these seagrass meadows remain healthy. By controlling populations of grazers like sea turtles and dugongs, sharks prevent these habitats from being overconsumed and destroyed. A healthy, thriving seagrass meadow can sequester carbon up to 35 times faster than a tropical rainforest. When these meadows are lost, not only do they stop absorbing carbon dioxide, but the carbon that was stored in the sediment for hundreds of years can be released back into the atmosphere, further accelerating climate change. In this way, sharks are our unwitting allies in the fight against a warming planet. The connection doesn't stop there. Research has also shown that the biomass of large animals, like sharks, is itself a significant carbon store. A shark's body is made of carbon, and for its entire life, it keeps that carbon locked away. When a shark dies naturally in the deep ocean, its body sinks to the seafloor, taking all of that stored carbon with it. This process, known as carbon fall, effectively removes that carbon from the upper layers of the ocean and the atmosphere for thousands of years. When we remove millions of sharks from the ocean every year, we are interrupting this natural carbon cycle and reducing the ocean's capacity to act as a carbon sink. This puts the role of sharks in a completely new perspective. They are not simply passive inhabitants of the ocean, they are active participants in the global climate system. By protecting sharks, we are also protecting the planet's natural mechanisms for regulating its climate. It's a powerful realization that the fate of these ancient predators is tied directly to our own future. The statement sharks are literally fighting climate change is not an exaggeration. It is a scientific reality, and it adds an even greater sense of urgency to the mission of ensuring their survival for generations to come. Beyond their role as apex predators shaping the behavior of the living, sharks also perform another critical, albeit less glamorous function. They are the ocean's cleanup crew. Much like vultures on land, many shark species are opportunistic scavengers, playing a vital role in removing dead and dying matter from the water column and the seafloor. They are drawn to carcasses of whales, large fish, and other marine animals, and they consume them efficiently. This service is incredibly important for maintaining the health and hygiene of the marine environment, preventing the spread of disease and recycling nutrients back into the ecosystem. Without sharks to clean up these large carcasses, the decomposition process would be much slower and messier. A dead whale, for instance, could become a breeding ground for harmful bacteria and pathogens that could then spread to other marine life, potentially triggering disease outbreaks. Sharks, with their powerful digestive systems, are perfectly equipped to handle this task. They break down the organic matter quickly, preventing the buildup of potentially toxic material and ensuring that the valuable nutrients locked within the carcass are redistributed throughout the food web rather than being lost or becoming a source of contamination. This scavenging behavior also represents a highly efficient use of energy within the ecosystem. Hunting live prey requires a significant expenditure of energy, while scavenging provides a high-reward meal with minimal effort. This flexibility allows shark populations to remain stable even when live prey might be scarce. They are not just mindless killers, they are pragmatic survivors that have evolved to take advantage of every available food source. This adaptability makes them incredibly resilient and further cements their role as a stabilizing force in the ocean, cleaning up messes and ensuring nothing goes to waste. This role as the janitors of the sea is another piece of the puzzle that is often overlooked in the popular narrative. We focus on the dramatic hunt, but the quiet, essential work of scavenging is just as important for the overall health of the ocean. It prevents the spread of sickness, recycles vital resources, and maintains a clean and balanced environment for all other species. From the top of the food chain to the bottom of the ocean floor, sharks are constantly working to maintain order, proving once again that their true nature is not that of a monster, but of a master custodian of the marine world. Perhaps the most mind-blowing fact about sharks is their sheer longevity as a species. They are not just old, they are ancient. Sharks have been swimming in our planet's oceans for over 450 million years. To put that into perspective, they predate the dinosaurs by more than 200 million years. They existed before the trees, before the first insects took flight, and before almost any life had established itself on land. They have survived 5 global mass extinction events, each of which wiped out a significant portion of all life on Earth. They have outlasted cataclysmic asteroid impacts, extreme ice ages, and dramatic shifts in the planet's climate. This incredible resilience is a testament to their evolutionary success. Over hundreds of millions of years, they have adapted and diversified, filling nearly every marine habitat imaginable, from the sunlit shallow reefs to the crushing darkness of the deep sea. Their body plan, the cartilaginous skeleton, the highly developed senses, the streamlined form, is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. It has been tested and refined by the immense pressures of time, resulting in an animal that is perfectly attuned to its environment. They are not primitive relics, they are living proof of what it takes to endure on a constantly changing planet. This long history gives sharks a unique status. They are living libraries of evolutionary data, carrying in their DNA the story of our planet's past. Studying them gives us invaluable insights into how life responds to environmental change over vast geological timescales. The Greenland shark, for instance, can live for over 400 years, making it the longest living vertebrate on Earth. Each individual is a time capsule, a living record of the ocean's history. When we lose a shark, we are not just losing an animal. We are losing a connection to our planet's deep, ancient past, a story that can never be recovered. And yet, after surviving for nearly 500 million years, many shark species now face the threat of extinction within a single human lifetime. An animal that withstood meteors and ice ages is now being pushed to the brink by human activity. This is the ultimate paradox and the ultimate tragedy. The story of what sharks really do, as architects, guardians, and climate allies, is not just a scientific curiosity. It is a 450 million-year-old legacy that we now hold in our hands. Understanding their true role is the first step toward ensuring that their ancient lineage does not end with us. The narrative of the bloodthirsty shark relentlessly hunting humans is powerful, terrifying, and deeply ingrained in our collective psyche. It's a story that sells movie tickets and news reports, but it has one fundamental flaw. It is a statistical fantasy. When we step away from the fiction and look at the cold, hard data, the myth of the man-eating monster completely falls apart. The numbers tell a story not of a war between sharks and humans, but of a profoundly misunderstood and incredibly rare interaction. To begin, let's put the risk into a global perspective. The world has a population of over 8 billion people, and billions of us enter the ocean every year to swim, surf, and dive. Against this backdrop of immense human activity in the marine environment, the number of unprovoked shark bites is astonishingly low. The International Shark Attack File, the world's most comprehensive database, consistently records an average of only 70 to 80 unprovoked bites per year worldwide. Of those, the number of fatalities is even smaller, typically averaging between 5 to 10 people, globally. This number is not just small, it is statistically insignificant when compared to almost any other potential cause of harm we encounter in our daily lives. The global fear we have built around sharks is based on a handful of tragic, but exceptionally rare incidents. To truly grasp how minimal this risk is, let's compare it to some other scenarios. Your chances of being killed by a shark are approximately 1 in 3.7 million. You are more likely to be killed by a cow, which causes an average of 22 deaths per year in the United States alone. You are more likely to be killed by a falling vending machine, a champagne cork, or even a falling coconut. You are thousands of times more likely to die from a lightning strike, a tornado, or a bicycle accident. You are overwhelmingly more likely to die from the most common danger at the beach, drowning. The data is clear, consistent, and undeniable. The vast chasm between the perceived risk and the actual risk reveals the power of the myth. We have allowed our fear, fueled by sensationalism, to completely overshadow reality. We worry about the 1 in millions chance of a shark encounter, while ignoring the far more present dangers all around us. The story of sharks versus humans is not a story of a battle. It is the story of a statistical blip that has been magnified into a global horror movie. The first step in understanding these animals is to understand the numbers, and the numbers unequivocally tell us that we are not on their menu. So if sharks aren't actively hunting us, what is really going on in those rare instances when a bite occurs? The very concept of a man-eater, a shark that has developed a taste for human flesh and actively seeks it out, is a complete fabrication. Humans are not, and have never been, a part of any shark's natural diet. We are bony, terrestrial mammals with very little blubber, offering a poor nutritional return for a large predator that needs high-fat, high-energy food to survive. A seal or a sea lion, with its thick layer of rich blubber, is an ideal meal. A human, by comparison, is a bony, stringy, and altogether unappetizing alternative. This is supported by forensic evidence from bite incidents themselves. In the vast majority of cases, even in fatal encounters, the victim is not consumed. The typical pattern is a single bite, after which the shark immediately lets go and swims away. If sharks were truly hunting humans for food, the behavior would be entirely different. The shark would hold on, consume the prey, and return for more. The bite and release pattern strongly suggests that the shark, upon biting, realizes it has made a mistake. It has bitten something that is not its intended food source, and it promptly rejects it. The tragedy of these incidents is that for a large shark, even a single exploratory bite can be devastating. Think of it from the shark's perspective. Sharks don't have hands. They can't touch or feel things to figure out what they are. Their primary method for investigating an unfamiliar object in their environment is to use their mouth. This is called an exploratory or investigatory bite. It's the shark's way of asking, "What is this? Is it a competitor? Is it a threat? Is it food?" This behavior is common among many animal species. A dog might mouth an unfamiliar object to learn about it. A shark does the same, but the consequences of its mouthing are far more serious due to the power of its jaws and the sharpness of its teeth. The tragic reality is that these incidents are accidents. They are not malicious, premeditated attacks in the way we anthropomorphize them. The shark is not a monster with a vendetta. It is an animal acting on instinct, making a mistake in an environment where humans are increasingly present. The term man-eater is a relic of a bygone era of myth and superstition. It has no basis in modern marine biology. To continue using it is to perpetuate a lie that has caused immense harm to shark populations and has prevented us from having a rational, science-based conversation about how to coexist safely. One of the most common and honestly compelling explanations for many shark bites, especially those involving surfers and swimmers, is the theory of mistaken identity. To really understand this, we kind of have to try and see the world from the shark's point of view, looking up from below. When a great white shark hunts its preferred prey, like a seal or a sea lion, it often attacks from beneath, rocketing up towards the surface to strike with surprise and overwhelming force. From this underwater vantage point, the silhouette of a seal with its round body and flippers out to the side looks remarkably similar to the silhouette of a human on a surfboard, with their arms and legs dangling in the water. This visual confusion is actually a critical piece of the puzzle. The shark isn't seeing a person. It's seeing a shape and emotion that, for millions of years, has meant food. The dark, solid shape of the surfboard, the splashing of hands and feet mimicking the movements of a struggling animal, these are all triggers for a predatory response that has been honed by evolution. The shark isn't making a conscious choice to attack a human. It's reacting to a set of visual and sensory cues that perfectly align with its natural hunting strategy. The encounter is really just a case of being in the wrong place, at the wrong time, looking like the wrong thing. This theory is further supported by the locations where these incidents often occur. Many bites on surfers happen in areas known as pinniped rookeries, where seals and sea lions gather in large numbers. These are the shark's natural hunting grounds, basically their cafeterias. A human entering this environment on a surfboard is essentially swimming through the shark's dining room disguised as its favorite meal. It's not the shark that is out of place, it's the human. The presence of natural prey, combined with the mistaken identity factor, creates a perfect storm for a tragic accidental encounter. Understanding this context is vital for shifting our perspective from fear to caution. It moves the conversation away from blaming a so-called monster and towards promoting awareness and responsible behavior. It means educating water users about the risks of surfing in known hunting grounds, especially during peak feeding times like dawn and dusk. It also means recognizing that when we enter the ocean, we are entering a wild space, and we have a responsibility to understand the animals that live there. The shark isn't a murderer. It's a predator that, on very rare occasions, gets it wrong, with devastating results born from a simple, tragic case of mistaken identity. Not all shark bites are unprovoked. Many happen when humans unintentionally provoke sharks. Simple actions like touching, grabbing, or cornering a shark can trigger defensive bites. Spearfishing is a classic example. The blood and struggle of a caught fish attracts sharks and conflict arises over the catch. Sometimes, sharks bite out of curiosity, especially when investigating unfamiliar objects or movements in their environment. Without hands, a shark's only way to explore is with its mouth, leading to harmless but startling test bites. Understanding these triggers helps us avoid risky behaviors. Don't harass marine life. Remove speared fish quickly, and avoid shiny jewelry in shark habitats. Most shark encounters are peaceful, negative ones almost always have a logical explanation rooted in natural shark behavior. The real danger at the beach isn't sharks, it's the water itself. Drowning claims thousands of lives each year, vastly outnumbering shark-related deaths. Yet, media and public fear focus on sharks, not the far greater risk of rip currents and sudden drop-offs. This misplaced fear leads to poor safety decisions and underfunded drowning prevention. Imagine if we taught ocean safety with the same intensity as we hype shark attacks. Our beaches would be much safer. Our obsession with sharks distracts us from the true risks and makes us less safe. To be truly safe, we must respect the ocean's power, not just fear its misunderstood predators. While we fear sharks, the real horror is the scale at which humans kill them. Humans kill up to 100 million sharks every year, over 11,000 every hour. For every human killed by a shark, we kill millions of them, pushing many species toward extinction. Industrial fishing fleets, advanced technology, and weak regulations have made us the ocean's top predator. Sharks are caught for meat, fins, and as bycatch, with little chance for survival. Our actions threaten the entire marine ecosystem, not just sharks. The real question, can we stop ourselves before we wipe sharks out completely? We are the true monsters in this story. Shark finning is one of the cruelest and most wasteful fishing practices. Fishermen slice off a shark's fins often while it's still alive and discard the rest, leaving the animal to die slowly. The demand for shark fin soup, a status symbol in some cultures, drives this brutal trade. Millions of sharks suffer and die each year for a tasteless ingredient. The high value of fins fuels illegal, unregulated fishing and a shadowy global market. Despite bans and awareness campaigns, finning continues in many parts of the world. Every bowl of shark fin soup represents immense suffering and the needless destruction of a vital predator. Bycatch, sharks caught unintentionally in fishing nets, kills millions each year. Industrial trawlers targeting other seafood often trap and kill sharks as collateral damage. Many sharks die from suffocation, injury, or are discarded too injured to survive. Ghost nets, abandoned fishing gear, continue killing long after they're lost, ensnaring sharks and other marine life. These silent killers drift for decades, causing slow, painful deaths. Bycatch and ghost nets are hidden but massive threats, driven by our appetite for seafood. Our consumer choices have far-reaching, often invisible consequences for shark populations. The ocean's quiet killers are the result of an industry too large and indiscriminate to sustain. Pollution is an insidious threat to sharks, poisoning their world from the inside out. Microplastics and toxic chemicals accumulate in sharks through the food chain, causing health problems and reproductive issues. Plastics, pesticides, and heavy metals like mercury reach their highest concentrations in top predators like sharks. These pollutants weaken sharks, disrupt their systems, and threaten their survival. Chemical runoff and plastic waste degrade critical habitats and create dead zones in the ocean. Pollution is a slow, invisible killer. Its effects are chronic and devastating. We're not just invading shark habitats, we're poisoning them. The health of sharks reflects the health of our oceans and ultimately our own. As we survey the evidence, the industrial-scale slaughter, the brutal cruelty of finning, the indiscriminate killing of bycatch, and the slow poisoning of their entire world, the conclusion is inescapable. The narrative we have built for a century is a complete inversion of the truth. We have projected our own monstrous capacity for destruction onto an animal that is simply trying to survive. We have painted the shark as the villain to distract from the horrifying reality that in the story of our oceans, the role of the monster is played by us. Our fear of them is a tragic misdirection from the fear they should have of us. The numbers tell the undeniable story: 5 human deaths versus 100 million shark deaths. It is a conflict so lopsided it cannot be called a conflict at all. It is a massacre. We have used our intelligence and technology not to foster understanding and coexistence, but to perfect the methods of annihilation. We hunt, trap, poison, and fin them with a brutal efficiency that no other species on Earth can match. We are the super predator, the invasive species, the force of nature more deadly and more terrifying than any great white shark could ever hope to be. The real jaws of death belong to humanity. This realization should be a moment of profound shame and reflection. The fear we feel when we see a fin in the water is a phantom, a ghost story we tell ourselves. The true horror is found on the decks of fishing boats, in the wasteful markets of the fin trade, and in the toxic plastic accumulating in the deepest trenches of the sea. The real terror is not what a shark might do to a person, but what people are actively, knowingly, and relentlessly doing to sharks and the ocean that sustains us all. We have created a world where the most successful predator in 450 million years is now one of the most vulnerable. It is time to shatter the myth once and for all. It is time to look in the mirror and acknowledge who the real villain is. The shark is not a mindless eating machine. It is a victim. It is a casualty of human greed, ignorance, and indifference. They are not the monsters of the deep. They are the architects of the deep, and we are systematically tearing their world apart. Our fear is not just misplaced. It is a convenient lie that allows the true atrocities to continue in the dark. To save the sharks, we must first stop being the monsters. The picture we have painted is grim. The threats are immense and the scale of destruction is heartbreaking. It is easy to feel a sense of despair, to believe the damage is done and the fate of sharks is sealed. But that is not the end of the story, because across the globe a powerful current of change is beginning to flow. The story of how to fix it is not one of fantasy. It is a story of real, tangible successes, proving that when we choose to act, we can turn the tide. Hope is not lost. In fact, it is growing stronger every day, fueled by science, passion, and a new generation of ocean advocates. One of the most powerful tools in our conservation arsenal has been the creation of shark sanctuaries. These are vast areas of ocean, often entire national exclusive economic zones, where commercial shark fishing is completely banned. Nations like the Bahamas, Palau, and the Maldives have led the way, declaring their waters safe havens for these vital predators. The results have been nothing short of spectacular. In these protected zones, shark populations have stabilized and, in some cases, have begun to rebound dramatically. These sanctuaries not only save sharks, but also boost local economies through the growth of sustainable dive tourism, where a living shark is worth infinitely more than a dead one. Beyond sanctuaries, the fight against the fin trade is gaining critical momentum. Thanks to tireless advocacy from non-governmental organizations and a shift in public opinion, dozens of countries and states have enacted fin bans. These laws make it illegal to possess, sell, or trade shark fins, effectively cutting off the market that drives the brutal practice of finning. We are seeing real change on the ground. In places where shark fin soup was once a common sight on menus, it is now becoming a symbol of shame, not status. The demand is shrinking as younger generations reject the tradition, understanding the devastating ecological cost behind every bowl. This is a battle we are starting to win. These success stories are crucial. They are beacons of hope that prove conservation works. They demonstrate that political will, grassroots activism, and consumer awareness can combine to create meaningful, lasting change. From the establishment of protected marine areas to the legislative victories against the fin trade, we have a clear blueprint for what is required to pull sharks back from the brink. The challenge now is to scale up these efforts, to take these local and regional successes and make them the global standard. The fight is far from over, but for the first time in a long time, we have proof that a better future for sharks is not just possible. It is within our reach. The scale of the problem can feel, pretty overwhelming, leaving you to wonder what one person can possibly do to help save the sharks. The answer is a lot. The power to create change does not just rest with governments and scientists. It rests in the choices you make every single day. Your voice, your wallet, and your actions are some of the most powerful tools we have. One of the most direct ways to contribute is by supporting the organizations on the front lines of this fight. Groups like Oceana the Shark Trust and Project Aware work tirelessly on research policy change and public education. A small donation can help fund a campaign to create a new sanctuary or track illegal fishing vessels. Your power as a consumer is also immense. The issue of bycatch. The accidental killing of sharks in fisheries targeting other species is driven by our demand for seafood. But you can choose to make sustainable choices. Today, there are incredible resources like the Monterey Bay Aquarium's Seafood Watch app that can help you identify which fish are caught using sustainable methods and which ones come with a high cost to sharks and the ocean. By choosing seafood that is ocean-friendly, you send a powerful message to the fishing industry that you will not support practices that destroy marine ecosystems. This simple choice, when made by millions, can shift the entire market. Education is another critical battlefield, and here, everyone has a role to play. The myths about sharks persist because of ignorance. You can help break this cycle. Talk to your friends and family about what you've learned. Share the real story of sharks as vital ecosystem engineers, not as monsters. Correct misinformation when you see it online or in conversations. Encourage your local schools to teach about the importance of marine conservation. By becoming an ambassador for the truth, you help dismantle the culture of fear that has allowed their destruction to continue for so long. You help build a new culture based on respect and understanding. Finally, you can use your voice to advocate for change. Sign petitions calling for stronger protections for sharks. Write to your elected officials and demand that they support legislation that bans the fin trade and cracks down on illegal fishing. Join local beach cleanups to fight the tide of plastic pollution. Every action, no matter how small it may seem, adds to a growing chorus of voices demanding a safer future for our oceans. You do not have to be a marine biologist to be a powerful advocate for sharks. You just have to be a person who cares. Your individual actions, when multiplied, create a wave of change that cannot be ignored. Ultimately, the long-term survival of sharks depends on one final crucial task. We must permanently flip the narrative. For over a century, the dominant story has been one of fear. Now, we must make the story of their importance, their vulnerability, and their beauty even more compelling. This documentary, and others like it, are a part of that effort, but the work must continue. It is up to all of us to become storytellers, to share the wonder of these animals and champion their cause. The goal is to reach a point where the image of a shark no longer triggers fear, but instead inspires awe and a fierce desire to protect it. This process starts with changing how we talk and think about them. We need to consciously move away from sensationalist language. When we hear about a shark encounter in the news, we should question the framing. Was it truly an attack, or was it an investigatory bite, a case of mistaken identity? We must challenge the media to be more responsible, to provide context and statistics instead of just feeding the fear machine. We can choose to amplify the voices of scientists and conservationists over the dramatic reenactments of so-called Shark Week specials. We must starve the myth and feed the truth until the truth becomes the dominant story. Art, photography, and film are powerful tools in this fight. The work of underwater photographers and filmmakers who showcase the peaceful, majestic nature of sharks can do more to change hearts and minds than, honestly, 1,000 data points. Their images replace the monster of our imagination with the magnificent reality of the animal. Supporting these creators, sharing their work, and celebrating the beauty of sharks is a vital part of rewriting the cultural script. We must create a new visual library for the world, one filled with images of grace and wonder, to overwrite the old, tired cliches of fins and teeth. This is the final and perhaps most important act of fixing it. We must ensure that the next generation grows up with a fundamentally different relationship with sharks. They must learn about the Trophic Cascade before they ever hear the theme from Jaws. They must see sharks as climate heroes and ocean guardians, not as villains. If we can successfully change the story, we change everything. Policy, funding, and public will all follow the narrative. By flipping this narrative for good, we can create a world where the protection of sharks is not a niche issue for a few activists, but a shared global value, ensuring their 450 million-year legacy continues for generations to come. We began this journey with a simple two-note theme that has defined our fear of the ocean for generations. We have traveled from the fictional shores of Hollywood to the real-world tragedies of the fin trade. We have dived deep into the science, uncovering the shark's true role, not as a monster, but as a master architect of the marine world, a guardian of the reefs, and a crucial ally in the fight against climate change. We have dismantled the myths, confronted the statistics, and revealed that the most dangerous predator in the ocean is not the shark, but us. The story we have been told our entire lives is wrong. It is a story that has cost these ancient animals dearly. Now, at the end of our journey, the path forward is clear. The solution is not to fear sharks, but to respect them. It is not to hunt them, but to protect them. The narrative of terror has led us down a path of destruction, pushing dozens of species to the brink of extinction. But a new story is being written, one of hope, understanding, and action. It is a story written in the successes of shark sanctuaries where populations are rebounding. It is a story written in the laws that ban the fin trade and in the shifting attitudes of a new generation that rejects cruelty in favor of compassion. This new story offers a different ending, one where we step up to our responsibilities. This is more than just a story about an animal. It is a story about our own capacity to change. It is a testament to the fact that ignorance can be replaced with knowledge, that apathy can be transformed into action, and that fear can be overcome by wonder. The shark is a mirror reflecting both our darkest impulses, our capacity for greed and destruction, and our best ones, our ability to learn to empathize and to correct the mistakes of the past. For 450 million years, they have been the stewards of the ocean. Now their survival and the health of the seas they maintain depends entirely on us. The old narrative served a purpose. It entertained us, it thrilled us, and it terrified us. But it was a lie, and the cost of that lie has become too high. It is time to let it go. It is time to embrace a new story, one based on the magnificent, complex, and vulnerable truth of what a shark really is. The future of our oceans depends on which story we choose to believe, and more importantly, which story we choose to tell. We must ensure the tale of the shark does not end as a tragedy written by human hands, but as a saga of survival that we help to continue. The shark does not need our fear. It never has. What it needs now is something far more powerful. It needs our voice. It needs us to speak for it in the halls of power, to demand stronger protections and an end to destructive practices that are killing them by the millions. It needs our voice in the marketplace, to choose sustainable seafood and refuse products that contribute to their demise. It needs our voice in our communities, to share their true story with friends, family, and the next generation, ensuring that knowledge, not fear, is the legacy we pass down. The shark cannot speak for itself, so we must become its advocates. This is not a problem for someone else to solve. The power to make a difference is in your hands right now. It is in the petition you sign, the donation you make, the sustainable seafood you choose, and the video you share. Every action, no matter how small it may seem, contributes to a global wave of change. You are now part of a growing movement of people who see sharks not as a threat to be eliminated, but as a treasure to be protected. You have the knowledge. The question is, what will you do with it? The choice to act or to remain silent is yours, but the consequences of that choice will be felt across the entire planet. The great balance of our oceans, a balance perfected over eons, is now teetering on the edge. The architects of that balance are disappearing, and the ecosystems they support are beginning to crumble. We are the only ones who can restore that balance. We are the only ones who can fix what we have broken. The mission is vast, but it is not impossible. We have already seen that conservation works. We have seen that when we choose to protect these animals, they can and will recover. Hope is not a passive wish. It is an active choice, fueled by our collective effort and a shared commitment to a healthier world. So, let this be the moment the narrative truly flips, not just on this screen, but in the world. Let the ominous music fade forever, replaced by a chorus of voices demanding change. Sharks do not need our fear. They need our respect, our protection, and our help. They need us to be their guardians. Speak up, get involved, share their story, be their voice. The future of the ocean is listening.